All right, welcome back. We are going to finish up section 4.7 today, continuing to work with the quadratic formula. So remember, our quadratic formula is x equals the opposite of b plus minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, all of it divided by 2a. You probably will want to have calculators for today, so go ahead and grab your calculator. Our learning target today is to solve quadratic equations using the quadratic formula, and again to determine the number of solutions by using the discriminant. The difference today is that we're going to use a word problem context for it. So our first example says your school's jazz band is selling CDs as a fundraiser. The total profit P depends on the amount X that your band charges for each CD. The equation P equals negative x squared plus 48x minus 300 models the profit of the fundraiser. What is the least amount in dollars that you can charge for a CD to make a profit of 200? So given our equation, P equals negative x squared plus 48x minus 300. What they are telling us is that we want to figure out exactly when our profit is $200. So we have a quadratic equation. We can subtract our 200 to the other side. And now the equation that we're working with is 0 equals negative x squared plus 48x minus 500. And that is an equation that we can use the quadratic formula for. So x equals the opposite of our b term, so negative 48, plus minus our big square root of the discriminant. Discriminant is b squared minus 4 times a times c. And again, remember that your signs have to come with those numbers. All of it divided by 2 times a. All right, so we have some larger numbers. I don't expect you to know what 48 squared is, but go ahead on your calculator. You should be able to just type in 48 squared minus 4 times negative 1 times negative 500. When you simplify that, this whole discriminant piece, the part under our square root sign, should break down and become just 304. Okay, so again, use your calculator. 48 squared minus 4 times negative 1 times negative 500. We end up with 304. Now, we can square root 304, but it's not going to come out perfectly. So what you need to do on your calculator for this is take negative 48 plus the square root of 304 and get an answer for that. Okay, hit equals, get an answer for it, and then divide by negative 2. Okay, so you want to make sure and total the top before you divide by the negative 2 on the bottom. Then you're going to go back and redo it with negative 48 minus the square root of 304. Get an answer for that, so hit equals, then do dividing by negative 2. Okay, so for the top one, using the plus sign in between them, check on your calculator. You should be getting a total of 15.28. Since we're talking about money, we'll just go ahead and round to hundredths, 2 decimals. And then if you do the second one, you should have ended up with 32.72. Now the question asked for what is the least amount in dollars that we can spend, or that we can charge for the CD. So the smaller number would be this 15.28. So my final answer would be I would charge $15.28 for each CD. All right, let's try another one. We have, this time we're selling wrapping paper. And our equation is P equals negative 6x squared plus 280x minus 1200 to model the total profit as a function of the price x for each roll of paper. What is the smallest amount in dollars that we can charge per roll of wrapping paper to make a profit of $1,500? So we're going to plug our $1,500 in there for our profit. And then we want to get one side equal to 0, so we're going to subtract our 1,500. So we have 0 equals negative 6x squared plus 280x minus 2700. All right, setting up our quadratic equation, our quadratic formula. X equals the opposite of b, so negative 280, plus minus the square root, 280 squared, minus 4 times our a value of negative 6 times our b value of negative 2700. The whole thing is getting divided by 2 times negative 6, 2 times a. All right, so once again, we need to clean up that whole discriminant piece. So go ahead and grab your calculators. Take 280, we're doing this part right here. 280 squared minus 4 times negative 6 times negative 2700. So x equals negative 280 plus minus, under that square root, once you've simplified that, you should have gotten 13,600. And we're dividing by negative 12. So again, we have to go through once with the plus sign. So type in negative 280 plus the square root of 13,600. Get an answer. Then divide by negative 12. Using the minus sign, negative 280 minus the square root of 13,600. Get an answer. Divide it by negative 12. Now, depending on the calculator you have, we could use some parentheses here. If we typed in negative 280 plus the square root of 13,600, there we go. If we put that all in parentheses, then we can go right to dividing by negative 12 and we don't have to hit equals. The nice thing about typing it all in like that is you can go back and recall it if you have a graphing calculator and change this plus into a minus sign. And then hit enter again and it'll just give us the second answer. All right, so again, if you just have a basic calculator, negative 280 plus the square root of 13,600, hit equals, get a total, and then divide that by negative 12. You should have gotten an answer of $13.62. And for the other one, you should have gotten $33.05. So the question asked, what is the smallest amount that I can charge for the wrapping paper? And that would be $13.62. All right. Our last question. It says we hit a golf ball into the air from a height of 1.5 inches above the ground with an initial velocity of 85 feet per second. The function h equals negative 16t squared plus 85t plus 0.125 models the height in feet of the ball at time t in seconds. Now, I want you to notice, we've talked before about this constant being our starting height. But this is in feet, and our starting height here was given in inches. If we take 1.5 inches and divide it by 12 inches, because that's what 1 foot would be, we get 0.125 feet. So what we're seeing in the equation, they've just converted our height into feet. Now, it says, when will the ball reach a height of 50 feet? So we need to put 50 in here for h. And then we need to get one side equal to 0. So we're going to subtract 50 to the other side. So 0.125 minus 50 ends up being negative 49.875. Now we can go ahead and use our quadratic formula. I'll use a t for time instead of x. So t equals the opposite of b plus minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times our a value times our c value and then we're going to divide the whole thing by negative 16. All right, I'd like you guys to pause the video for a minute and grab your calculators, try to get your two answers for this. All right, checking your answers. Under our square root, we should have had 4,033 when we simplify that discriminant. I'm sorry, I forgot my 2 times a on the bottom. So you should have divided by negative 32. All right. What we get if we use the plus sign in our equation. So negative 85 plus the square root of 4,033. And then that whole quantity divided by negative 32. We get 0.67. And if we use the minus sign in our equation, we end up with 4.64. If you picture when we did our graphing, we're starting just above the ground. That golf ball's going up in the air and coming back down, right? Because of gravity. At some point, we hit a height of 50 feet. And what they're telling us is that the first place we hit that, our time is 0.67 seconds. And then it goes above 50 feet and comes back and is again at a height of 50 feet at 4.64 seconds. So that's why we're getting 2 answers out. So I would include both of these. The ball is at 50 feet twice, once on the way up and once on the way back down. Now notice on the last part of this question it says, will the ball reach a height of 115? Not when, but will. Will the ball reach a height? So they're not asking me to actually figure out what the time is. They're just saying, is it possible? So where on my picture would 115 feet be? Is it way up here where the ball doesn't hit it at all? Does the ball still go up higher and hit it and then come back down? We have to find that out. And we can figure out how many solutions there are simply by looking at that discriminant. So this time we want the height to be 115, negative 16t squared plus 85t plus 0.125. If we subtract the 115 over, we have 0 equals negative 16t squared plus 85t minus 114.875. So again, we really just need to find the discriminant, which is that b squared minus 4ac. So b squared would be 85 squared minus 4 times our a value times our c value. So grab your calculators. 85 squared minus 4 times negative 16 times negative 114.875. We end up with negative 127. And since it's a negative number, a negative discriminant means that there is no real solution. So in my picture here, the path of that golf ball, it's going to go up above 50 and come back down, but it is not going to reach 115 feet. It would not go that high. All right. Your homework for today is going to be worksheet 4.7b. It should be in today's folder.